In a world full of uncertainty, there's always one guarantee. People will associate curses with anything. Every new product and medium has a million urban legends about how it can be deadly or haunted or full of demonic energy. How many stories about evil Furbies have there been? Of course, this cursed energy translates well into the economic force that is video games. Since their inception, rumors and legends have been circulated about how certain copies contain curses, about how if you play a specific game at a specific time you'll see something you shouldn't see, about how some are just anomalously addictive. It's human nature to pin these tales upon whatever is popular at the moment. Some video game curses are pretty spooky, telling tales similar to creepypasta, while others are just kind of unlucky, like the Madden cover curse. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're counting down the top 5 scary cursed games you shouldn't play alone. Of course, I know as soon as I stop talking, you're just gonna go and play these games anyway, but you know, maybe put on some high-vis clothing and have some emergency rations on hand. Before we start our countdown, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more wicked stuff. Perfect, let's begin. Coming in at number 5, we've got Sad Satan. The deep web is full of all sorts of things you could never find while browsing normally. It's not all drugs and crime though, a lot of it's just the back end required to keep the internet running smoothly. However, thanks to the nature of using Tor and associated onion sites, people tend to be harder to track on the deep web. Anonymity reigns supreme in the depths, which is why so much shady stuff is able to go on. This leads to the discovery and subsequent disappearance of all sorts of weird stuff. Like when Jamie from Obscure Horror Corner came across a deep web horror game. A fan of the show sent it to Jamie after being unable to get it to run on their own computer. Titled Sad Satan, this unsettling black and white game is essentially a walking simulator with plenty of small, creepy details to pick up on. If you just played it straightforward, trying to get from the beginning to the end as fast as possible, you'd basically just walk in a straight line a bunch of times, maybe hearing a freaky noise or seeing an image or two. The graphics tend to glitch out a little, and eventually some children show up and cause damage to the player. There's no way to defend yourself either, so once these little gremlins show up, it's basically game over. Jamie found a bunch of questionable content through the download link in addition to the game, so he didn't want to make that link public for everyone. Instead, he recorded himself playing it and uploaded that to YouTube. Since he started doing this, a whole bunch of folks have done their best to dissect the content of the game. There are plenty of strange images and sound bites that appear throughout, including the last residence of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, full of antlers, and a photo of Margaret Thatcher and Jimmy Savile at a NSPCC event. This is likely an ironic jab at Savile, as he was also later accused of child abuse. There are also references to JFK right before his death, Satanism, and Charles Manson. Jamie also claims that the game would generate gibberish-filled notepad files and constantly put them on his desktop. This unsettled him, leading him to delete the game. Further digging led to the discovery of more information about the person who uploaded Sad Satan to the deep web forum in the first place. Signing off as ZK, this user commented on other things, usually about pretty dark topics and Satanism. In terms of explicit curses, there really aren't any, but the game is so jam-packed with questionable content and references to occult themes, I wouldn't be surprised if someone else managed to get their hands on the files and ended up in a rough spot. Coming in at number 4, Taboo, the Sixth Sense. Didn't your folks warn you against paganism? While today they're more popular and widely accepted than ever, tarot cards used to be a big taboo. See what I did there? These harmless fortune predictors were considered to be a fast track to joining a cult, selling your soul, and ending up in hell. So, of course, an NES game with the sole purpose of giving you a tarot reading received its fair share of urban legends. Marketed to adults with a warning label reading, "For entertainment purposes only," it's hard to imagine why so many kids were given free reign with Taboo, but hey, here we are. The game itself isn't super impressive, even though it was developed by Rare. It would prompt the user to enter their name, birthday, and gender before inputting a question that they wanted answered. Then the game would generate a tarot reading using the Celtic Cross layout, followed by some lucky lottery numbers. These cards were illustrated and actually included some nudity and religious images, which were usually unacceptable under Nintendo of America's content guidelines, but for whatever reason, Taboo was given a pass. There are lots of different stories about what exactly the Curse of Taboo was. Some people claim that it very accurately predicted the brutal deaths of some children playing it. Others claim that it caused children to become irritable, irresponsible, and prone to running away. This was then attributed to a cult using the game to lure kids into their grasp. All of this before Donkey Kong Country even came out too. Is it possible that Rareware made a deal with the devil through Taboo to put out a bunch of classic games at the cost of their ever-living souls? We may never know. Coming in at number 3, we've got Polybius. Polybius is one of the more infamous cursed video games. It's still up in the air as to whether it really ever existed, but that could be thanks to some very sneaky covert cover-ups. The legend started circulating in the early 2000s when the title appeared on a website cataloging old arcade cabinets. Even though no one could find evidence of it actually existing, stories began to circulate about how it was so popular that it became addictive. People would line up to play and even get in fights over who was next up. To add to the mystery, apparently Men in Black would come around and collect data every once in a while, supposedly testing responses to the game's psychoactive effects. Those who played Polybius were reported to suffer from amnesia, insomnia, night terrors, and hallucinations. Then, like a ghost, the game disappeared. It seems that whoever's behind this cabinet caper has left some hints though. The name Polybius also belonged to a Greek historian from Arcadia, who was famously known for his assertion that historians should not report what can't be verified through interviews with witnesses. Could this be a clever game designer having a laugh at our expense? Or is it someone trying to tell us something about the nature of memory and the Men in Black? If you look one step deeper, the name of the supposed company behind Polybius can be found: Sinneslution. This could mean something along the lines of sensory deprivation based on the German words that have been mashed up to make this name. Again, the information points us to the direction of not being able to fully understand what's happening. It's a mystery letting us know that we can't possibly know everything. We're deprived of certain senses in this case. To this day, the game has never been definitively proven to exist or not exist. All the details behind it are debatable though, like kids having seizures while playing, the possibility of psychedelic drugs being tested on users, and the nature of the game itself. Intrepid investigators have gone as far as submitting Freedom of Information Act requests, which still turn up nothing. While emulators of the supposed game do exist, there's nothing in terms of solid proof. In at number 2, Prodigy Priest King. This anomalous game first appeared on store shelves in 1988 and was recalled within a month. All sorts of strange phenomena started happening around the time of release, leading the SCP Foundation to investigate further. This game is an adventure-style RPG with many secrets to discover, akin to a classic Zelda game. The player is tasked with exploring the labyrinth in order to collect the mirror, the jewel, and the sword. Most folks who purchased the game were unable to acquire any of the three and thus became frustrated. The game itself seemed to be extremely glitchy, often soft-locking players out of locations and playing the same sound bites ad infinitum. This was only the beginning though, as it began to exhibit more dangerous and disturbing anomalous properties over the period of time between November 29th and December 9th. Children began acting odd, reporting body parts becoming numb and avoiding regular responsibilities in order to play the game. People who had played the game were discovered in dark rooms, covered in wounds that appeared to be self-inflicted. Odd, fleshy masses were reported, and many folks became disfigured in ways that I can only describe as Cronenbergian. As more of the game was discovered, more and more people started feeling the negative effects. The phrase, "this is where I died," kept showing up, even in places where there should have been no prior contact with somebody making the same statement. A dead child stood up post-mortem, people playing the game regurgitated reflective glass, and ropes manifested at test sites. It's hard to explain exactly what happened here, as it's also widespread and weird. If you're someone with a mind for solving mysteries, check out the original article on the SCP Wiki. You won't be disappointed. And lastly, at number 1. Cabinet Man. You can't win me, I can't be beat. I won't hurt you unless you cheat. You can't see me behind the screen. I'm half human and half machine. The third song on Lemon Demon's 2016 horror-themed album Spirit Phone, Cabinet Man details a video game cabinet maker's journey to become a game himself. The song tells the tale of a man grafting his organs inside of an old arcade cabinet, circuit board to brain, lungs collecting change, one big human heart gently beeping. Although the reporters reported him to be dead, the man lived on within his creation. He was brought to an arcade and spent years as a popular attraction. There was no way for players to know what was really going on, so they happily played this rare game at their local arcade. During his time there, the cabinet ate a few maintenance men and drove a few kids to madness, but hey, a game's gotta live. However, as time went on, home consoles began usurping arcade cabinets as video game royalty. The cabinet man got lonely, his lungs shrunk for lack of coins. Then, on a dark and cold Christmas Eve, a man broke into the apartment. The trespasser went around smashing machines and stealing coins until he made it to the cabinet man himself. As he was stealing quarters and vandalizing, he noticed something strange. Blood on his sneakers. That's where the story in the song ends, but you can all imagine what happens next, right? Driving kids mad, eating repairmen? Small potatoes compared to what the cabinet man's about to do to this vagrant. If you're ever at a barcade and you notice something staring back at you while you smash buttons playing track and field, maybe take a break. We had some legends, we had some supposedly cursed games, we had some made up for the sheer enjoyment of everyone everywhere. Cursed games, just avoid them. So, what do you think? Have you heard of any cursed games that rustle your jimmies and keep you up at night? Are you gonna go listen to Lemon Demon now? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more magisterial ones from the top 5 scary SCP monsters from another dimension, part 3. The Hat Man says, best to roll with what's happening, right? Famous last words. At least they're famous, eh? Although I do prefer hold my beer when it comes to good last words. Scram DM says, none of the 5 things in this list are even monsters. Come on, man, unless you count the coat that does seem to have a mind of its own, but still, 1 out of 10. So a mysterious fortune-telling box that sends shadowy arms to beat you to death isn't a monster? The creatures from Antarctica aren't enough for you? Could you be any more pedantic? And if you really wanted to give my top 5 list a rating, you'd make it out of 5, not 10. Alana1 says, can you imagine if SCP-112 was a tower drop ride? That would be awesome. Holy smokes, a 4-month free fall strapped into a metal chair? Sign me up. George Montoya says, so, about the top 5 SCP locations. That could be interesting. It's just too bad that most of those locations are redacted. And Thick Save Lives says, my man, what is that shirt? I gotta have it. Go look up Slimy Swamp Ghost on TeePublic to find some more wicked ones. Trevor is a legend. That's all the time we have for today. Before I dip my head in Ice 9, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more haunting heebie-jeebies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Man, I'm hungry. I'm just waiting for lunch, man. Saw pasta primavera on there. I'm gonna eat so many noodles, man. Fast track to joining a cult. The sole purpose of being a tarot reading. If you're someone with a mind for something. During his time there, the